Auburn will open their year up a week from Friday here, right a mile and a half from where we are at McLean Stadium. We've mentioned some of the stories with Auburn this week, with also the possibility of three quarterbacks with Hugh Freeze, and also even the national championships that they're putting up now at Jordan-Hare Stadium, and much more. And we're joined by one of the Auburn greats, and Jason Campbell, part of that unbeaten team in 2004, and obviously played in the NFL as well, and the broadcast analyst for Auburn Sports Network. Jason, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. When Hugh Freeze says that he might play three quarterbacks, is that just him saying that, or do you think that's the case, and does that mean you don't have one?
The history has always said if you played all three and you didn't have one. I don't think that's the case in this situation. I think he's probably talking about situation as far as maybe implementing guys into the game plan. Like I said, neither one of these guys has taken a snap for Auburn ever before. So Jackson Arnold has experience, Ashton Daniels has experience, and then of course Deuce Knight, the highly touted freshman out of high school. He hasn't had any experience at all at the college level. So, sometimes, you just never know what coaches are thinking or how they're going to utilize guys, because all three guys present a different attribute to the game. So, we'll see. I also know offensive plays are limited. So, it'd be kind of hard to do that. But if you can and you're able to accomplish it, then go for it.
So you don't think this is an indictment on Jackson Arnold, who's the presumed starter, at all?
I don't think it's an indictment, because I'll tell everybody this when they ask me the question. I say, well, in order to win a quarterback battle, you can be named the starter, but in order to win a quarterback battle, it comes in real game time. And what I mean by that is, once you get into the game and you're actually playing, every quarterback that plays the game, whether it's college or pro, in order to keep your job, you have to do your job well. And the only way to know if you're doing your job well is real live game action. And so his first game action will be against Baylor, against Coach Dave Aranda. His defense is got a lot of returning starters, and he's been a guy that's coached in the SEC before, so it doesn't faze him from a standpoint to prepare for this type of size and speed. They'll be well prepared. It's just for Jackson as well. He can't go out there and try to win the game on his own, because he's trying to prove something. It's basically neither one of these guys has taken a snap on Auburn just yet, so it's hard to just say who's really cemented that's going to be your guy long term for the rest of the year. But it's his job, it's his opportunity first to go out there and take the reins.
Jason, there's going to be a nice spotlight on that game, being a Friday night game, being a couple of power teams right there in that first week taking each other on. So I think it's a nice little measuring stick potentially for both teams, but just season in general. Hugh Freeze, year two, kind of where is your head as an Auburn fan, your anticipation and excitement level for what they maybe haven't cooked up, and maybe what are some of your reservations, if any?
I'd say for Coach Freeze, this is his first time that the whole roster is his guys. And what I mean by that, there's no guys left over from the previous regime. Everyone that's now on this roster, from freshmen all the way through transfer guys, are guys that has been handpicked, by his staff. And so he said it'll take 3 years to get this thing going in the direction that he wants to get it going. So there's a lot of excitement around Auburn right now as far as, okay, we're in year 3. Guys that came in his first year that was freshmen are now juniors this year. You put that with a highly touted class the last 2 years, and then with the transfer guys that come in, the standard at Auburn is still to compete and have an opportunity to compete for championships. And it's kind of gotten lost over the last couple of years because we haven't had the winning seasons that we're accustomed to having, and having an opportunity to compete in the SEC, to go play in Atlanta, and then try to now move on to the playoffs. So, there's a lot of things that still has to be accomplished with this football team, but I think this is a season that they can start to turn the script and start to write it in the right direction. So this game against Baylor is a huge game for a lot of reasons. We didn't win a relevant game last year on the road for real. Last year our season was not the same season he had the first year. So there's a lot of things that you want to improve on to show that, hey, this season, last year we lost a lot of games that we should have won in the fourth quarter. And have now, can you learn from those games where you could have had a 9-win season last year, and can you get this year to utilize your experience that you have, even though you have new quarterbacks, you have a new left tackle, a new right tackle, but at the same time, these guys are experienced football players, and how fast can they put it together to get this season going in the right direction? It's going to depend on, how fast can they build chemistry. And that's going to be the key. So there's a lot of excitement, but I love this game. I love it being in Baylor just because it's going to be a hostile environment. Baylor has a lot of returning starters. They have a really good quarterback. We talk about them with Sawyer. He got a transfer from Mississippi State, and he threw for over 3,000 yards last year, and he didn't start the season until it was over the third game. So there's a lot for Baylor to like as well.
They have a defense. They've added some pieces through the transfer portal, trying to get pressure on the quarterback. They've had issues at times with defensive depth in the defensive line. But the secondary got riddled by Nussmeier and LSU in the bowl game. They've tried to add to that, plus another year of experience. What do you see, even with Dave Aranda and his expertise on that side of the ball?
Yeah, like I said, when you talk about secondary, right, that's one thing everyone looks forward to now in college football. Everyone likes the big receivers, and everyone wants to see how you're going to cover guys. But the game is still won up front. You think about the defensive front, the game is still, it's where you got to win is in the trenches. But when I do look at their back end, and you talk about some of the guys that came in, but you look at Caden Jenkins, he's a kid that was a freshman All-American, second team freshman All-American back in 2023. So you're talking about a guy that has talent and ability, but then you got some transfer guys. Travion Barnes come from FIU. They've had many guys come out of their program over the years to go to bigger programs. You got Davian Bobby, leading 3 interceptions last year in 2024. So you just think about the talent that they have on the back end, and some of that is experience. Now these guys are a year more experienced. And then when you think about the defensive front, of course, David Randall, when he was at LSU, they scored a lot of points offensively, but defensively, they got after people. And, you have to be ready to pick up his blitzes. You have to be ready to the whole thing about them is not turning the football over and giving those guys an opportunity where their momentum just gets going. So for Auburn, defensively, like I said, we have some youth on our side of the ball defensively. But at the same time, this is a really good matchup because you're not playing someone that you say you lead a game. You're like, well, I still don't know where we're at yet because we wasn't challenged. For both teams, you're going to be challenged. So when they leave this game, they're going to have an idea without any preseason games to know exactly like where they probably need to improve on at the most and how can they get better between week 1 and week 2, which is typically is when you in sports, it's typically when you get better is between those first 2 games.
Jason, what do you think about the wide receiver core with Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton now on the outside? Look, Cam Coleman, especially towards the end of last year, really showed, why he had all those stars next to his name in the recruiting rankings. And Eric Singleton comes over, one of the most sought after guys in the transfer portal this year.
Yeah, you're talking about 2 guys. I think I saw a list that said Auburn receiving core as a whole ranked like second behind Ohio State nationally. So that's a lot of hype right there, right? But like I tell guys, paper is paper. Like we have to do it on the field. And so you think about it, Eric Singleton was a big reason why Georgia Tech was as special as they were last year in offense. The guy can be utilized in so many different ways, and plus he's a special teams player too. So his speed and his dynamic twitch that he has in and out of routes is probably second to none, and he just has a great mentality and a great mentor to come in for guys like Cam, who was a young talent last year. And as you mentioned, the second half of the season, he kind of took off a little bit. Cam's a prototype receiver. When you see him, he's 6'5", 6'6", can jump out the gym, has a catch radius, that's out this world. He's a big receiver. And but he's still young. He's still learning the game. He's still trying to implement his talent within this offense. So, then you look at guys like Horatio that we brought over from Wake Forest, who's an experienced receiver, got a lot of talent. Again, can help some of these younger guys. Malcolm Simmons, who's an exceptional talent as well. But, our receiving core is really talented across the board. Like I said, there's one football. So there takes a lot of patience, and guys got to understand, hey, your number's not going to be called every play, but you never know when it's going to be called. And those plays that you make that are not on schedule is going to be a big part of this receiving core as well. So we're excited about that group and what they can bring to the table. But at the same time, you still have to be able to run the football in any level to win and compete for any championship. So at the end of the day, it's about just unselfishness for everybody.
Jason Campbell, former Auburn quarterback, played in the pros many years, and also now the analyst with Auburn Radio Network with us on 365 Sports.
So, Jason, are you, after yesterday, when is your national championship ring coming in?
I'll knew I'd get that question. I'll say this. I've always felt like we was a champion. Like I said, that year was a special year with special talent, 4 first-round draft picks off that team. Guys that played in the league a long time. Like I tell everybody, USC had a great team that year. Oklahoma had a good team that year as well. So did we. So did us. But it's unfortunate that you got left out the game. You go against one of the toughest conferences. You don't get a chance to compete for the national championship. I say it's kind of hard to be punished for something that you didn't do. But we did everything we were supposed to do to have an opportunity to play in that game. And it's hard to say who would have won the game and this and that. You see some people say, oh, Auburn could have won it or USC could have won it. And a lot of people, based off what happened the years before we played them, I said, man, every year is different. And I said, you can't compare a junior year to our senior year because we had a different offense coordinator. Our junior year, our coordinator, no one on staff on the offense side had ever been a coordinator. So it was learned by experience every game. Then you bring in an experienced guy, then he knows how to utilize everybody's abilities and talents. And all of a sudden, you light the scoreboard along with a top 5 defense. So, I said, how many people would have said the Giants would have beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl
Absolutely,
twice with Tom Brady?
Yep.
I said, that's why you play the game. I said, so you don't know what would have happened in the game because we didn't get a chance to play it. So we've always felt like we was champions at the end of the day. But like I said, everyone's going to have certain feelings about it. Like I said, Auburn has always kind of hid some of their great history of great teams in the past. But I think now they're just shining more light on the teams in the past that have been great teams and everything. And I think they just want people to know the rich tradition of winning at this school because the last couple of years, it hadn't been a winning tradition.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple of years, it's been rough. If you was a 7th grader, you haven't seen Auburn win more than 6 games since 2020. So and it also just understands like, hey, there's been some great teams. There's been some great players. Cam Newton was great. Bo Jackson was great, but there's been some other great players that's come through this university and just haven't been recognized probably as the way we should have been. But now this just kind of shines a light on it. And there's been some backlash from people. But honestly, Auburn just doing what every school across the nation has done that based on the rules and regulations of what you can claim as your champion. They're now just coming forth with it instead of just kind of sitting behind the scenes with it. So, people can take it as they want, but at the end of the day, it doesn't change the way I felt about our 2014.
Unbeaten team, beat Tennessee twice, including the SEC championship, beat LSU and Georgia.
Beat Frank Beamer in the bowl game.
And Virginia Tech in a great Virginia Tech program with Frank Beamer in the bowl game. Yep.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. Look, there are times where – teams get snubbed and they don't care about the next thing because they only cared about, what it was. You guys went and cared. That has to mean something. I also think that, you guys have probably served an example of why this needed to be more than 2 teams because, I think just if I'm not an Auburn fan, an Oklahoma fan, or a USC fan, but I feel cheated out of the fact that I didn't get to see you guys play one of those teams at some point. And that we don't, just as a fan of the sport.
And that's the thing about it. We've always said, hey, guys, we remember our season as kind of the team that kind of put a spotlight on why there should be more than just the computer system, why it should be an opportunity to have a playoff system. Unfortunately, we had to be the team that that had to kind of bring that to the forefront. I say, but at the end of the day, people don't realize how hard it is when you go win your conference championship. And you're supposed to be one of the top 2 conferences in the nation. But then at the same time, now you got to go play another top 10 team coached by an experienced coach and can get your butt beat if you don't prepare right. And Virginia Tech, so it showed a lot of experience about our guys on that team as well to be able to lock in and stay focused. Which is young guys, you could have easily said, well, we're not in that championship game. It's not going to mean anything. But guess what? Had we gone out there and not won that game, no one's even talking about us having that great year.
Yeah,
so
that's
the fact
exactly
that
right.
So the fact that we have to lock in and like put our sorrows to the side as you're not playing in the national championship game, but you better lock in because Virginia Tech is trying to come whip your butt and take everything that you feel like you earned that year. So, we have to change our mindset during that week and shift everything to, hey, Virginia Tech, that's our focus. And to do that with a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds is not the easiest task. And I thought our staff did a good job of preparing us and getting us ready for the game. And people don't remember this, but we was up 16-0 in that game with like 4 minutes something to go. And we kind of just called everything off. And all of a sudden they got a touchdown and got a late, whatever kind of touchdown you want to call it. And it made the score look a little bit different than how the game transpired. But it easily could have been a 23-3 win or 23-0 win. But at the end of the day, I give respect to them because Frank Beamer was a heck of a coach. And that defense was a top 5 defense nationally that we had to face. It was one of the tougher defenses we had to face. And I can remember 5 of those guys that played on that defense, I played against on Sundays. So it was no slouch of a team by no means. And that team, they easily could have been 11-1 at the time as well, the one game that they lost before they had played us.
Your thoughts about Cam Newton, his jersey number being retired, of course, led him to a national title, unbeaten team. He was phenomenal. And what it meant, he came in after you did, but what Cam Newton meant to Auburn in the time that he was there.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy that's, single-handedly probably had one of the greatest college seasons, in 50 years, based off us keeping up data. Just like you look at him as his statue, how big he is, but what he was able to do and come in that year. They had a phenomenal season, won a national championship, went undefeated. He won the Heisman. A storybook telling, that's something that you dream of and everything. So, he goes down as one of the best college players of all time. So, rightfully so, his jersey is going to be retired. I think the Georgia game, it'll be a night game. He's from Georgia as well, so this could be a lot of energy in the stadium behind that. But at the same time, like I said, someone was interviewing him, and he talked about how he got to Auburn, and I kind of watched a little bit of it and everything. But like Cam Newton doesn't come to Auburn if he doesn't think Auburn's a place that you can come and win. So the fact that he chose to come to Auburn as well, it shows that there is some rich history there. And, we just got to get back to winning. And there's a lot of pressure around Auburn right now of getting back to that. But Cam set a standard as well. Like I told guys in 93 set a standard. They went undefeated. They just on probation. They couldn't go play in the bowl game. But there is a standard at Auburn. And like I said, Cam deserves to have his number retired for what he's accomplished.
Jason, we appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you we should see you a week from Friday when you come in for the radio broadcast. Ought to be one heck of a game, and look forward to it. Taylor Bryan's a good friend of ours, and of course he's now head of football media relations, was there, went to Baylor, then he went to North Texas, now back to Auburn. I know he's excited to be back closer to his family, and could not rave enough about what you do on the radio broadcast as well, so we do appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Like I said, much respect for Baylor. I got a chance to play with Josh Gordon the year he broke the record in the NFL at Cleveland. So they've had some great talent come out of that program. So definitely excited about the game. And Waco's pretty popular. They kind of remind me of a little bit of myself because I was born in Laurel, Mississippi. So if you watch the show Hometown, that's based on Laurel, Mississippi, where I was born. If you watch the HGTV or Waco now, on the Magnolia Network, you see all the different renovations with Chip and Joanna Gaines. So I look forward to coming out there, man, and just seeing Waco. Actually, my former strength coach that had us when I was at Auburn has been a part of Coach Yacht has been a part of the Baylor program. So I get a chance to meet up with him, man. So we're excited about coming out. I just hope it's not as humid and hot as it is here. but
Well,
we're excited though about
yeah. You're gonna get a big piece of it. Sometimes it's weird. Like one Friday or Saturday during late August or early September, we get this cool front that comes in. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, Smokey, I'm surprised that you made it through this entire interview.
I know,
and you did not ask him about Joe Gibbs.
Well, no, I know we're getting up. So first of all, I love the fact you play with the Redskins. With obviously, Joe Gibbs eventually was there, retired there, and you had that one good run, and then things didn't end up well at the end. I was going to bring that. Well, one, what was it like to have any connection with Joe Gibbs, who's unbelievable? And secondly, are you thrilled now that the ownership change has happened?
I say that Joe Gibbs is one of the best people you could possibly be around. One of the most harmless, all-time winning coaches you can be around. I remember the first time I met him when he came down to Auburn, and they put me in a chalkboard room and had me get up on the board and draw up plays and everything. Then he showed me clips of the system that they run, and he's like, "This is why I want a big arm quarterback." And I just remember the rich tradition of those guys winning, and when they had the Hogs and everything that they did back in the day. But I just remember being with him my first couple of years. Like you said, things were sprouting out pretty good with him, and then all of a sudden, he retired after the 07 season.
Yep.
It's the year that Sean Taylor, we lost Sean Taylor that year, and I think it was just a lot just was going on at the time, and I think with him and everything family wise, and then just to lose a guy like Sean, it takes a toll on you. And then it's kind of like we try to rewrite the script after that, but it just wasn't the same. But I say this about him: he used to walk in the room all the time. He say, "Guys, look," he say, "I don't want your egos. I want you to come in this building ready to win, ready to work. But when you leave this building, when you go home, when you walk in that door at your house and you meet your wife or your kids or whomever's at your house, when you walk in that door, it's not about you anymore. You let your ego down, and it's all about the people that's in that house, because they've allowed you to have the opportunity to come out here and pursue your dream. You get paid to come and play professional football, which at one point in time was a kid's dream, just to go outside and play catch. Not many people in the world get paid to do what they love to do and don't consider it a job. You're fortunate." So he taught us a lot about life more than it was just about being on the football field. And those are some of the traits I carry with me today, because when you're in the NFL, there's a lot of egos in the locker room. And for him to knock all that stuff out and made us think about those around us that love us and give us an opportunity to support us, when sometimes you can become self-centered if you're not careful. And I think he did a exceptional job of teaching us that.
Good stuff. Man, he's unbelievable, winning with three separate quarterbacks, and got a chance to interview him a couple of times at a Super Bowl, and it was one of the few guys in which I was a little not frozen because I had such great respect for him. Thank you very much, Jason. We'll see you a week from Friday when you get here with Auburn and Baylor on Friday night, ESPN at McLean Stadium. Have a great rest of the week.
Appreciate it, guys. Look forward to seeing you.
Jason Campbell, Auburn. Auburn played quite a bit in the NFL. He kind of had the body, reminded me in a way his throwing motion of Doug Williams, too, who, of course, won a Super Bowl with Joe Gibbs at Washington.